I'm not sure at this point in time.
So this is the LEPC meeting for March 23rd up in the Southwick Town Hall Land Use Room. This is an in-person only meeting. The chair has looked at the roster and determined that we have enough members that are present, those members being Cecil Lewis as the alternate for Bay State Noble, Jen Willard, Randy Brown, Carl Steinhardt, Paul Miles, Rhett Banish, Charles Dunlap, and John Francis Kane. So those people help us get to the point where we have a quorum. This meeting is being recorded, and it will be loaded to the Town Hall webpage site. And it is 9:30 a.m. on Thursday.
Thank you, Carl.
Can we do a quick introduction?
Yep, we
We
go
can,
around the
yep.
table.
Charles Dunlap, Emergency Management Director.
Randy Brown, DPW Director.
Scott Fleabot, MEMA Region 3-4.
John Kay, member, LEPC.
Cecil Lewis, Bay State Noble, EM Coordinator.
Joe Tamel, Interim Director of Business and Operations at Southwick Regional School.
Jen Willard, Superintendent, STGRST.
Paul Miles, Southwick Police Department.
Rhett Banish, Southwick Police Department as well.
Carl Steinhardt, Chief Administrative Officer.
Okay. All right, with introductions in place, let's dive into things here. First thing on the agenda is the acceptance of the January 26, 2023 minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, motion made by Charlie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second is by Randy. Any discussion on the minutes?
As you vote, you had to have been here for that meeting to vote on them.
Okay. So.
And these were the people that were here, so. So the people that can vote would be,
All right, we'll go right in order here.
yep,
Carl Steinhardt,
yes.
Charles Dunlap.
Yes.
Jessica Bishop is not here. I will be a yes. Randy Brown,
Yes.
Cindy Sullivan not here. Karen Zorick not here. Cecil?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is new business, and we'll be taking on our yearly tabletop exercise with Scott Fleabot from MEMA.
All right. Scott is going to be the MEMA representative and observer and evaluator. I will be the facilitator. I have several scribes in the back. Ian White, Emergency Management. Pauline Dunlap, Emergency Management. Charles
Darling.
Darling, Assistant Director, Emergency Management. Okay. We're going to try to make this quick, get through it, and short and accurate responses from the participants. Purpose, this plan is intended, hazardous material plans, wrong one. Okay. Community description. General description, Southwick has a population of roughly 9,950 and is located 7 miles south of Westfield, Massachusetts, and 90 miles west of Boston. To the east is Agawam, Massachusetts, Suffield, Connecticut, with Granby, Connecticut to the south. Granville, Massachusetts borders to the west. Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you may. And
Thank you, Ian.
and also, Chuck, if you'll pass the response books out.
Just pass them around.
Or pass them around, yes. Westfield is on the northern border. The major highways serving Southwick are Mass Route 168, Route 57, and Route 10, US 202, with many secondary roads. The government emergency operations. Southwick has a select board form of government with a chief administrative officer.
2016. Yeah, 2020s or?
Yeah,
Sure.
it hasn't changed.
Yeah, it has.
Not,
You want mine, Scott?
No, I got it on an app, I just,
Okay.
if those are what you're putting out, no.
No, this is 2020.
No, we got, in the cars, we got the latest.
Did I miss anyone? Anyone got a copy?
Okay, Southwick has a select board form of government with a chief administrative officer in charge of day-to-day operations. The select board has appointed an emergency management director, EMD, who is responsible for developing integrated emergency and disaster plans and procedures to guide response to all potential hazards, natural or man-made, negotiate interjurisdictional mutual aid agreements, and coordinate emergency response and recovery efforts. There is a full-time chief of police with full-time and reserve police officers. Also, there's a full-time fire chief with full-time and call volunteer fire and EMS staffing. The DPW has full-time employees. The health agent is part-time. The EOC staff positions are assigned as additional duties for department heads. Staffing may be filled by trained EMA and CERT volunteers. Additional administrative and emergency response support is negotiated by the EMD and other department heads. A state liaison from MEMA would normally be dispatched to the town EOC if it were activated. Noble Bay State Hospital and the American Red Cross would augment the town EOC as approved by the EMD based on the emergency at hand. The Town of Southwick Emergency Operations Center is located in the town offices building at 454 College Highway near the geographical center of the town with an alternate EOC at the DPW facilities. There is one police station and one fire station centrally located. A regional school government agreement between Granville, Tolland, and Southwick provide the education. Student transportation needs for grades kindergarten through 12th grade, along with special needs students, are provided by Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative. Industry. Southwick is mainly a recreational and bedroom community with light industry and small retail stores. Employment. The largest employers are the regional school district with 3 schools on a common campus and a national computer hardware software training facility. The exercise is to test emergency response on hazmat designated routes and hazardous material emergency response, to test a Southwick Integrated Emergency Hazardous Material Emergency Response Plan, to involve the regional school system in a hazardous material incident. Factual information. Southwick has 3 designated Massachusetts state highways, Route 168, Route 10, and Route 57, with another US 202 being a federal designated highway. These highways carry a large volume of mixed traffic for local and through destinations and are part of the hazardous materials and evacuation emergency route planning. Time and weather conditions. On Thursday, March 23rd, 2023 at 09:35 hours, local time 09:35 in the morning. The weather conditions are very low humidity, wind variable at 5 miles per hour from the north, with a daytime temperature in the mid-50s and a mostly clear sky. Scenario. Regional school students are attending class for a routine school day. Highway traffic is normal for a Thursday. Reported to regional dispatch on 911 of a tank truck leaking liquid heading west on Route 57 from Feeding Hills. A second caller reports from the North Long Yard Road and Foster Road intersection an 18-wheel truck leaking fuel heading west to the center of Southwick and has a 1203 quote, insignia on the tank. Dispatch is receiving numerous calls of an 18-wheel truck leaking fuel. Needed time to look up the 1203. Jen,
Yep,
in the front.
it's in the front. Oh, I'm like, I don't have it.
Look on 1203 under the numbers.
The yellow?
Yes.
Orange, or
Which,
Yeah, yellow, and then that'll refer you to the
Gasohol.
orange.
oh, it didn't refer me to the orange.
It gives you a,
Another number next
Oh,
to
the
it, a
next to the page
three-digit number
number?
next to it.
which is orange.
Okay,
Right.
Gotcha.
Now, instead of insignia, that should be placard, but it was called in as an insignia. So you can see what we are dealing with. The truck driver sees black smoke in his rear view mirrors and pulls off the road by the Powder Mill School parking lot.
Good spot to stop.
Should've gone into the open field across
I
from it.
told you,
Okay.
we're always killing the kids.
The driver notices flame and heavy smoke from the tank trailer and grabs an extinguisher, but decides to run clear and far away. East and west traffic is now backed up. The truck is fully engulfed. All right,
And it's right outside Powder Mill School?
well, it's a parking lot right adjacent on Feeding Hills Road.
Okay.
It's close by.
The one with the playground and the
Yeah,
track.
yeah, with the track car, okay. Just want to make sure we're all talking about the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
place, with
yeah.
kids out at recess.
All right.
Melting the
Now,
paving.
first question is, how will public safety, police, and fire respond for the initial call?
You're the patrol supervisor.
Well, we're gonna go, we're gonna try and get our eyes on it and at least take a look at that placard to confirm the placard. And then advise dispatch what we have and forward that information to fire. We're gonna start trying to close that area off to keep people from going into that area, keep in mind where the wind is going with respect to that smoke. Probably not in the school will call too.
How many cruisers will you have, and roughly where will they be coming from? Two, okay.
And worst case scenario from Granville, from the Granville Village.
What time of day was this again?
9:35, about the time we are right now, except it's
9:35
gonna
on a
be
weekday.
nice and sunny outside and very dry humidity. Static electricity probably ignited the fuel from the truck.
Now, this 18-wheel truck, is this a 10,000-gallon trailer or a 5,000-gallon tank wagon?
I don't know, it's 18
18-wheeler, that's, you gotta presume it's a 10,000 trailer then, right?
Okay, what, Sarah, what would the tank trailer be hauling roughly per gallon each?
They usually-
Gallonage, normally in this area, most of the delivery tankers to our facilities are somewhere around 7,000 gallons.
Is it a tanker or a trailer?
Tractor trailer with a,
Right,
a
'cause
tank.
tankers have a limitation, trailers are larger,
Right, yeah,
and
this
they
is,
can have multiple,
right.
Yeah, we
The,
try not to let them go over 7,500.
even the trailers?
Either trailers or tankers.
Okay.
All right, who's going to be representing fire? I will.
Do you want, okay, you do it.
Okay. The initial response will be one engine and an ambulance. And it'll be probably the first response engine, which was what, engine 1 or engine 3? Anyhow, there'll be one engine with a complement of probably 4 firefighters.
Are you calling the hazmat team out of Chicopee?
Not yet.
Okay.
This is just initial response. Okay, how will the town of Southwick integrated hazardous material response plan as be implemented? Well, the response plan, well, I have a couple of copies of it, but anyhow, it's a routine hazmat incident, a routine accident report or response. Okay, police arrival. What is going to happen with the police arrival? Paul?
The police arrival, we're gonna be.
Yeah, you're gonna be first on scene.
we're gonna be identifying what's upwind, what's downwind, what that placard is, if it's still available, or we're gonna be closing roads, we're gonna be shutting people away. That's gonna be the very first task, and of course, keeping dispatch aware of exactly what's going on and what we can see.
Okay. Fire and EMS are responding, and they probably would be responding from Powder Mill Road. And coming right up upon the scene. Now, at this time, Powder Mill School Superintendent's Office and Powder Mill School will be informed. How they're informed would be either by visibility, social media, or walk-ins or what have you. So the school at this time would be notified of a major incident outside your dooryard. What would be your response?
Us, we would immediately evacuate Powder Mill School.
Are you sure you'd evacuate, or would you shelter in place?
Well, I don't know, I'm just reading this thing about evacuation. You said there's black smoke, and it says immediate precaution, isolate for the area for at least 50 meters, large spill, consider initial downwind evacuation for at least 300 meters. If there's a fire, if tank, rail car, or tank truck is involved in a fire, isolate for half a mile in all directions.
Okay, your call.
Well, which way's the wind going?
It's coming from the north at 5 miles per hour
So it's pushing it toward the south,
towards the schools.
and that's where, and if she's going out the back, the school is the buffer to the burning debris coming southerly.
I would be asking somebody what to do, to be perfectly honest with
Yeah.
you. I'd be asking the fire, what should I do?
The fire chief or incident
Yeah,
command is gonna.
I wouldn't make
Well,
this decision on my own.
It's gonna confirm.
They're-
it.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't make these decisions. I
Fire,
confer
fire
with
is
the
going to
fire.
be, oh my God, look what we have.
No, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They always tell us
They have
exactly what
action.
we should be doing.
Okay, it's about, probably about fully involved right now because the truck driver was going to initially attempt to put the fire out and he was overwhelmed.
So it's fully engulfed right now?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
So we might
Take-
have to move from one side of the building to the other,
Yeah, you move everybody to the
You know,
south side, you
fire.
stage them until the
Yeah.
fire
stage
chief
them
tells you
until
what
it's
to
okay
do.
to then evacuate, or it's necessary to evacuate to the other schools.
Well,
Unless
I
the
would
fire
ex-
chief tells you to stay in place.
I would
Yeah.
expect heavy black smoke, intense heavy black smoke starting to envelop over the schools.
well, the fire chief would be telling me what to do at this point.
You have a full-time resource officer, school resource
Yeah,
officer?
yeah.
So he'd be involved with
Yeah.
the radio, he'd be
Yeah,
involved with that.
he'd be telling me what to
And
do.
he would be involved with the fire chief at
Yes.
this point and be
Yeah.
directing that. So he'd be your advisor.
Yes. Like when we've had like gas leak smells and everything, the police and the fire tell us evacuate, well, if we smell gas, we call the fire, they say evacuate the building. Then they tell us, oh, yeah, move them to this school or whatever. We don't really make the decisions about what to do because this is not our area of expertise.
And you have a full-time public safety advisor, which would be your school resource officer.
Yes. Yeah. But if you're gonna ask me, if this big truck's on fire and could blow, I'm not leaving kids in the building.
Okay.
I'll take the chances with the
Yeah,
kids.
and I think you're gonna move them all to the southerly area,
Yeah,
cause
we're
that's
gonna-
where your auditorium is, you just stage everybody there until the fire chief gives you the direction about whether you're staying there or you're going out.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you gotta have is, you gotta have like Eric Wickender or somebody.
he'd be on the
Shut
spot.
the air,
Yep.
you wanna make sure you're not bringing any
Air
air
in.
from the smoke into the building.
Yeah,
Don't bring anything else into the building.
right. And we'd evacuate, we wouldn't be going out that door, we'd be evacuating behind Woodland School to go up to the regional school. We wouldn't even be going in the field. We would,
Go into the parking lot?
yeah, but the bus parking lot.
Yeah.
And then go behind Woodland School and up like that back road.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't be anywhere near there.
My initial thought would be with the seriousness of it and the gallonage of the vehicle, I would expect maybe an explosion. You'd have to prepare for that, so I would be evacuating, as speaking for the fire department, evacuating out of the building and heading either east or west.
Kid, that means nothing to me. They'd have to say, go to the summer house, go
South.
towards,
You'd be going south
Wally
down.
Park. Where
South
it's-
down Powder Mill Road, you might even send them up to Wally Park.
Yeah,
Well, either that or
Depends what
up
time- what-
behind the high school towards,
You're not sending them back, cause you go cross field, that's burning, that stuff's going south right across that field. Yeah, 9:30 in the morning. You might do it.
Okay, fire, you're the fire, telling me, what am I doing?
You're going to evacuate, and you're going to be on foot because probably school buses would not be available at that time.
No, they would not.
So I would be going probably uphill
Yep,
and diagonal to the smoke debris coming in towards you, which would be going from Feeding Hills down towards Powder Mill Road area.
like down towards, like, if you were on.
The entrance to Wally Park?
Correct.
Well, they gotta go at least a half a mile if you're gonna
Right.
evacuate, right? So you're gonna
Yeah,
get
so
Right, that's what I'm
these kids
saying.
to go a half a
We
mile.
could go right out the door of your
Well, you got all the
office,
teachers with them too.
Yeah.
so
through the
you've
rec
got-
center, through the fields, and you're at
And if
Wally
that's
Park.
middle school, then it's not,
But Wally
it's not the
Park,
little
you're
kids,
still
so
gonna be
you,
in the debris
they're walking.
field.
So what do you say, like head down towards Mobile?
No, no.
No, you don't have, no.
It's going to
You're
Wally
going to
Park.
either go towards Agawam or towards,
Why would I go towards Agawam? I'd have to walk by the fire.
But if you're worried about an explosion, I mean.
I know,
an
I gotta
explosion's
get 'em
gonna take
away.
the building down. Maybe we put them all in the far auditorium to isolate the blast, but keep them sheltered from the fallout and the smoke by shutting down the ventilation.
Yeah, that's the key.
The auditorium though is right next to the truck.
Or sorry, the gymnasium.
Oh, gymnasium, okay.
The gym in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
so if you sheltered in place, you'd have to worry about the toxic fumes from the high carbon smoke. Okay.
It's also, it's 9:30 in the morning, so you don't know how many loads the truck dropped off, so you don't know how much is left in the tank. You're presuming, you're operating under presumption that it's full.
Well, it's coming from Gasoline Alley in Springfield,
Yeah.
so. Okay, it's just, food for thought as to what you do for any perhaps pre-planning.
Is the fire the fuel burning, or is it the liquid in the tank that's leaking? Because it says it's a fuel leak.
Right, in
So is
the,
it truck fuel, or is it,
It's leaking from wherever the source of the leak is, whether it's a broken valve or defective tank or what, don't know.
or presuming that it's the tank itself, that liquid is leaking, right? Not the truck.
Oh,
right,
it's
not
a
the
tank.
truck's gasoline tank, which is smaller.
The truck would probably be diesel, which would not be 1203.
No, but that could be burned, that could have been what was leaking, which started the fire, so now we have a tank that isn't leaking, right, has a fire underneath it.
Correct.
Is somebody gonna have the driver in custody so they'll know what he observed before he got away from the truck, so that they can find out whether it's the tank of the transport unit or the tank of the fuel for the truck?
Well,
So
that
where's the driver?
he ran clear and away,
You didn't
so
get too far.
probably,
Go.
probably
Yeah.
300 feet or so.
He's still around.
He's alive. He's alive where,
Right, but we didn't say, right, did he get burned and, right, so. you
No,
know, So
no.
he has something he can contribute to the information gathering.
so all we know is it's gasoline and it's fully engulfed and it's a large gallonage, probably 5, 6, 7,000 gallons. Okay. Now, where would a command post and staging be located if required?
Schools don't do that.
We don't have fire representation, so.
I know. And I doubt they would be doing it anywhere near
Or at
the
least
truck.
half a mile away.
Well, the trucks
Yeah.
would be coming down Powder Mill Road.
No, I'm
right
saying I
in-
don't think they would be setting their command center up anywhere near the truck that's on fire.
No, not that part.
That's the tricky
I
part.
would suggest the best place for that would probably be the Gristmill parking lot, because it's convenient, it's big enough.
Yeah.
All the apparatus is gonna be coming, probably from Westfield, if I had to guess. That'd probably be the most opportune place to set up an impromptu post.
It's a great call.
Yeah. I concur, yes.
Why not at the fire station? It's probably the same proximity
Oh, good call.
and everything's there.
even-
There's
Well,
no-
command post, the command post is going to be somewhere near but safe of the scene. So,
Question,
Probably a little.
where did you say the command post would be?
Grist Mill Plaza is what they were thinking?
Yeah.
That's just
So that you're gonna use because you got more equipment coming in from other places and you need to stage it in a bigger lot.
And then we gotta check in,
Cause otherwise you'd have everybody monopolizing our lot here, if
correct,
they were all coming here.
correct, and like, if Superintendent Buller needs a spot that's further off to pick up and house kids, this would probably be a better
Yeah.
place for that to happen. You got places for buses to pick up kids and whatnot.
Well, the issue with that is they weren't going that direction, they were going down Powder Mill Road toward Wally Park, right?
It would end up.
I mean, that's a great place to reunify people.
You better believe it is.
Plenty of space.
But you're in a
decent traffic.
debris
One way in,
field.
one way
You're-
out.
You're in the smoke area right now.
Well, but is that near 1,000 feet?
800 and something feet away. 800.
2,500 feet.
That's where Wally Park is from?
Well, it would have to be more than 2,500
Yeah,
feet away, so 1,000 meters.
Well,
Wally
right.
Park can't be.
8,000, or 880 yards. Wally Park entrance from Powder Mill Road is 969 yards.
So that would mean if you evacuated them, you'd still go up the entrance where you are, but you'd have to go through like Piney Wood
Yep.
and bring them all up around there and then put them onto Feeding Hills Road to bring them to the grist mill.
Well,
We could do that,
Grist
yeah.
Mill Park is gonna be the command center for public safety.
But he mentioned that that was also where buses could come for
And
reunification
I was thinking here,
here.
Could do it right in the Pineywood neighborhood, there's in and out access both directions. Bring buses in one end, bring them out the other, outside of the debris field.
Yeah, you're just lining them up in front of everybody's houses down.
Well, everyone's gonna be outside watching.
Right.
I know, everyone's gonna be there
They're all gonna
anyway.
be the bucket for,
And we'd have the police there to support us and to be keeping people away while the
Yeah.
kids get on buses and we organize. They can shut down the roads. We
well,
don't have
yeah,
power to
well, our
shut down the road.
staffing
You guys
levels,
are
they
gonna
may
do
end up
Once we
using,
get adequate staffing.
Yeah.
they're gonna end up calling Randy and his heavy equipment people. They're gonna be putting dump trucks in front of roads.
Right.
Closing roads off other ways.
Okay, so the command post is going to be set up at Grist Mill Plaza. Now, how would incident command system or unified command be used? First on the scene would be the incident commander, which would probably be police.
First on scene, yeah, I mean, once fire gets there, it's
they're gonna be
Then-
their deal.
Yeah.
It still ends up being unified. And then any information disseminated, whether it's even through our office or anyone else's office, is gonna be with the information provided by police and fire. But at this point, if you're along that much steps and you're into it that much, you definitely have called Chicopee at this point.
Okay, that'll be the next. What outside agencies, resources, and mutual aid would be needed, and if responding, what and from where? And how would DPW, or Southwick DPW, be utilized?
Well, we'd be providing assistance to wherever needed for traffic control, putting up detour signs. This location will be closed for quite a while, so we'll put up detour signs and get people away from there. We can bring barrels, cones, barricades, wherever we need to do that, to isolate the area from any large equipment.
Yeah, you'd also be calling DEP, the hazmat response people.
It's automatic when they get, when hazmat gets the call, DEP should automatically get that call.
Yeah, Dave Slowick, Joe,
Dave,
those
Joel,
guys.
whoever's, it's probably gonna be Joel actually. But yeah, it would be automatic.
Okay, now we have
They all get
TV,
dispatched by the same, and by the same place.
now we have TV and the media arriving. Would there be a joint public information officer coordinated between the town and the schools? Who would be the public information, or how would you handle the media?
So we are told in our emergency planning that once there is an incident commander, the schools step away and the point person now becomes the incident command. They're the spokesperson for the,
Well, there, okay,
so it would be a joint, we would be talking together, but whoever is in charge, whoever the incident command person is the spokesperson. We don't have two spokespeople.
The incident commander would have a public information officer under incident or unified
I think what he's
command. So
referring to is-
now, would that be joint? Would you
Yes.
be coordinating between town and schools?
Yes,
So that one information statement would be let
For
out
both.
to the media?
correct.
Right, but she's gonna be taking her input from the
Incident commander.
incident commander, the
Yeah.
police, the fire chief, because he's not gonna be discussing, certain things about school parts of it, cause she's gotta do a lot of outreach to a lot of parents in a short period of time. And they're gonna be wanting to hear that from her too.
It'll be the same
And
message.
you have
yeah.
the-
Blackboard Connect.
Yeah, the Connect, you still have the Connect City system, we have the other one, so. Code Red. So we'd be
Okay.
doing multiple messages.
Would Connect City Code Red notification be implemented by the town and/or the regional school district?
It's a code red.
Ours is Code Red, yeah,
Version of Blackboard.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Theirs is Connect City, but ours is Code Red.
Okay.
They're two different systems. Because they have, because of their security issues, they have a different number of clients in their system that are different than ours. So ours is usually larger and subsumes it,
Yeah.
but theirs goes out to other, their Code Red, or their system goes out to other communities.
Yep.
Ours doesn't. When we do a Code Red, it's not going to Tolland and Granville.
Okay.
Because their client base or their students, those go to those other communities.
And Westfield and Springfield and Agawam.
Right, so you're gonna end up having a consistent message, but it's gonna have to go over both systems.
Absolutely.
So Charlie, do you guys use the WIA at all? The wireless alerts at all from us?
No.
That would be something you might want to implement in your plan later. You give us one call, give us a message you want. You
Well,
tell me the geographic area you want it, and we'll put it out to every cell
well, we
phone.
would be initiating a WebEOC message.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything though. The only people who see that are us and the
Right.
Fusion Center.
And I would probably give a 750-1403 or 1401 call.
Right.
I'm gonna call you Chief Lebop, because that's how I know you.
Call me whatever you want.
Okay, Chief, so.
Okay, we're gonna translate what those numbers mean in there?
Also,
It's
what's the
just our-
WI
it's just
again?
our
I just wondered,
That-
right, but
that's-
what the group
It's
wants to
the
know what
Agawam.
it-
Okay, 750-1400 is the 7-digit dial call to MEMA Region 3 in Agawam.
So here's what would happen.
But what's that WI you just said?
Okay, I'll explain that.
Yeah, yeah, I wanna know what that is.
So here's what would happen in real world. Once we got that call, because when you guys called hazmat, that would trigger a call, because that dispatch is through the state dispatch system that everybody's on. Once they got that, our dispatch got that call, they would call me, they'd call hazmat, we'd call DEP, we'd send somebody down here automatically. That's just automatic, especially if there's kids involved, you probably have more resources than you need, because they're just not, the state's not gonna take that chance to say, oh yeah, it was a school, we're gonna get there eventually. It's just kids, what could go wrong? Then we would call DEP, DEP would assess that, with, hazmat, they'd probably be simultaneously en route. DEP would take over, I believe, once DEP came, they would take over incident command or joint command, because we don't ever wanna say we wanna take over the town. We'd take that over with them, so we'd work as a joint unit, and then we'd work on reunification and helping Jen, and we would say, okay, what do you need and where are you at? And if we needed a WIA, so what the WIA is, Superintendent, is a wireless message that we can feed out through cell phones. And what we'll do is we'll type 2-character messages. The first one will be a quick message, stand by for alert in your area. The second one will be whatever you, as a town, deem by your PIO that you want us to put out. Stay away from powder mill, something out for kids, redirect here. When we put that out, we can put it out to you tell me what geographical area you want. We plug it in, and it forces it. So even if you have alerts off on your phone, it will force it into those cell phones and into anything that's internet-based. We'll push that message out. So I can do it to Granville, Towland, Granby,
Yeah.
Southwick, whatever you want. I can do it I could even narrow it down to if you just wanted 2 blocks of Southwick. We can do that. That would be just, you just let me know, hey, this is what we want it to say, I write it out. When I make one call to dispatch, I can usually put those messages out within 10 minutes. So from the time we get the call to the time it actually hits the cell phones is about 10 minutes. Cause I gotta get approval for EAPs. But they always have somebody, I just say, hey, this is what Southwick's got going on, this is what they want. They're gonna quick review it, double check with whoever
Fire.
the town is in charge, and they'll say, is this what you want? Yes, done. And I can, and usually it's, we use it a lot.
Can you spell it for me? I have
It's,
W,
I'll send you an email detailing the whole thing, how's that?
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll give you the whole,
Yeah, copy me on
Yeah.
that
I
stuff.
will give
Right?
you guys the whole thing on it.
Amazing.
Does it work for cell phones that are based out of the state of Connecticut?
Yep.
as well? Okay.
If you, well, what'll happen is this. It wants two things. It'll be for anybody in that area that will actually be pushed. And also, once they drive into that area, it'll be pushed out into the cell phone. So it goes by if they're just, like, let's say I have a kid in the school, but I'm in Pittsburgh right now. It probably wouldn't get that person, but it would get anybody in that area. And it would force feed it into that area, and once they drove it into that area. Now, if it's a carrier, where my carrier is, let's say I live in Southwick, but I'm away, they would probably get it. Because it goes through Verizon, it goes through, it's a complicated system, but it works pretty good. So to answer your question, if I was just, actually restate your question?
So long story short, if I wanted to make sure that people in Granby, Connecticut were aware not to come to this part of town because we
Yep.
have a lot of traffic, are people in Granby gonna get it because they're in Connecticut?
I can put it anywhere you want. So what you just tell me the community with a zip code. You say, hey Scott, I want this to go to, because we do get some weird things where you'll say, okay Scott, I want this to go to all of Southwick, not just half of Southwick, all of Tolland, all of Granville, this part of Westfield, all of Granby, Connecticut, and part of Simsbury. And then even said, and I want it to go to Washington DC. I can do that too. It goes by zip code.
Okay.
And then even if I want to narrow it down outside of the zip code, I can just make that demographical area shorter or bigger or smaller or whatever. If I want to just isolate it to a two-block area, you just tell me then, hey, I want to notify this street, this street, and this street, this street, and this street in Southwick of this is what's going on. And we push it out, it'll only go to those streets. You tell me what you want, we can make it happen to whatever you want it to, wherever you want it to go, or force feed it. And then if they're not in that area, the minute they drive into that area for up to 24 hours, that message will come into their phones automatically.
And how many messages can we put out? Like, say we had a scenario where you had to tell people to not drive into an area, but you had people in an area the fire department had to say, hey, shelter in place. Could you put out two separate messages?
Yes.
To two populations?
Yep. I can do two different messages. I can even set it up though so that, then you can put a time limit on it. Let's say that, hey, I wanna have this message come, every time somebody comes in the area, I wanna put it out every time somebody drives in, but I wanna keep it active for 24 hours. You can do that. If I only want it active for 1 hour, I can do that. If you want it for a half hour, I can do that. Or when you just say, hey, I'm gonna have it for 25 minutes, I'll just put the limit on 25 minutes for a message operation.
Now, Scott,
And you guys can call direct for that too, like the PD, if you needed it, it would just come right into us, we'd go up to you. So even if it's not an event that, whatever, the shift commander can actually call it in with approval from the chief, or actually, I don't even need approval from the chief. Shift commander, we would just verify it, to make sure that I'm really the shift commander of Southwick that I'm talking to. Cause we had people try to do some things that weren't great. Once we get that verification, boom, we get it in there and it's done.
Okay, next, would the EOC be activated? This is a significant incident, and the answer is yes. The coordination or anything that would be needed, and documentation.
Charlie, how's the communication gonna be working with Bay State Health Noble in terms of, there's been an event, it's creating smoke clouds, you're gonna have people with respiratory issues. Is that something the incident commander is doing, or is that something that when Scott's agency is informed that they're doing, they're speaking to the major healthcare chain? this way they know that they're gonna be getting people coming
So-
through their door, you
What
know?
would happen is that we would have what we classify as a mass casualty event or
Yeah.
a pre-possible event that could be significant.
There'd be a
impact to the
lot of
hospitals.
smoke inhalation.
Right.
So we would automatically, that would set off that chain. Once I get DEP and I get the hazmat guy, and the hazmat guy tells me, hey, I got some issues where we may overload. So now that goes off to a whole lot of things, especially because of where you're at. Bay State will get the call.
They do, okay.
Bay State, St. Francis, Hartford Hospital, and anybody within our area, to include Mercy. But we only got three level 1 trauma hospitals in the area. Bay State's one of them, Hartford Hospital, and St. Francis. So we're always constantly monitoring those things, because the reality is you're not that far from, if it was something major, we would have life flights. Sometimes we'd bring them to St. Francis or to Hartford Hospital as well. So that's an automatic trigger, to answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, you know something like that's gonna be happening.
Would a
Some parents are
limited,
gonna wanna get their kids checked out.
Oh, you better believe they will.
would a limited declaration of emergency or full declaration of emergency be considered? Conferring with the incident commander, police, fire, emergency management, with the significant incident, it would be yes, I would recommend to the chairman, the chief elected official, to declare a limited declaration of emergency for the area affected. Traffic would be impacted, schools are impacted. Now, one thing that is not designated here, and just from knowledge, underneath this 18-wheel engulfed trailer is a major fiber optic cable that goes cross-country.
It's under, I thought that just goes out along the rail corridor.
No, it comes along Feeding Hills Road. Comes out the rail trail, goes Feeding Hills Road, and then it cuts back into the woods down by.
So that would be directly over
Red Oak.
top of it.
Check work.
I think it's on the north shoulder of the road.
Who
Yep.
owns it?
You're right.
Yep, and that-
Who owns it?
Verizon?
AT&T.
AT&T, yeah.
So what's your concern with it?
Significant amount of communications.
The backup would not be available, it's the backup. And I'm sure that would be a big bill to the insurance company of that trailer company from that phone company.
And this is buried probably 4 to 6
That's
feet.
big dollars to come in and fix those things and re-splice them.
So we just can't cut it, is what you're saying, huh?
But it's something that is not visible.
Right?
So would that affect your communication if that?
No.
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 That's really a dedicated separate line.
It's a
to
dedicated
link
line
it.
and we'll handle everything underneath. We don't really worry about it because if, let's say you lost everything. I lost
That-
every single thing.
That would not be local.
It wouldn't,
That's
it's not gonna
national.
affect you, and even if it does,
the
we'll force
backup
feed it through
Wall
satellite.
Street.
So we'll just set up a whole different system, and I think that's what we're gonna do for your motocross. Is we'll have a separate system in case everything goes down as a backup to force feed your internet and communications via satellite. So it's not like like he said, it's a huge thing for them, not for us, we can override it, but for what we're gonna do is a Band-Aid for a quick solution. Them, it will cost hundreds of thousands.
That's
to get
millions,
that.
right.
Because fiber optic, you can't just splice in, we
That's
just gotta
a
go
big
for that.
job.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, the exercise is terminated at 10:15. Now, we're going to do an after-action hot wash, and what I'd like to do is go from each person and have your feelings, your thoughts, your input as to what your position, what you represent, and any thoughts, open season. Randy?
Well, as Public Works, as we said, we're more of a support role, so wherever we're needed, we'll go. I assume most police and fire staff will be on the scene, but we can be on the periphery, helping out where needed. I think traffic control will be a big issue, coordinating with all of our surrounding communities, because we got people from Agawam coming in through this area. So we can help set up detours signage, whatever has to be done to get people, keep people away from the scene until it's cleared up.
Okay, I'm gonna let Scott be last.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mr. Kane?
So I guess I'm the business liaison, so as far as local businesses would be affected, but I'm sure most would be willing to help out and, you know, open their businesses to people that need to come in and seek refuge or whatever, or supply, you know, food, water to personnel that need it, you know, on scene.
Like logistics support.
Yeah.
Very good.
For
Hospital.
For Noble, we're not the level 1 trauma unit like Bay State is, but for the smaller injuries and anybody needing decontamination, we do have a small decon unit on site that we could start setting up, and depending on the amount of people we get in for triage for the ER, we do have a unit that we set up in the parking lot in case it overwhelms the ED. And we would just take directions through CMed from EMS to determine next steps to help people recover.
John?
Ours would be, I think, initially working with the fire and police about the evacuation of the students. We would have a role in communication to our families around the situation. And then our systems, I'm providing access to the building and the systems that might be a support to the fire. And then transportation with the reunification of students with their families.
All right. Communications, what do you have available for intercommunications with the schools? We used to have communications between the schools and the EOC, but what are you using right now so that you could coordinate on the school campus?
The walkie-talkie?
Yeah, I mean, all the buildings have the walkie-talkies that are connected to, and Kyle, resource officers on it as well. So Kyle would probably be the resource officer, the point person in communication from building to building.
We'd all get on the same channel.
Yeah,
Now, is this FRS, GMRS, or do you know what system or,
Charlie, I don't know what you're talking about.
okay.
I'm gonna throw out some educational lingo at you, and I'm gonna see how comfortable you feel.
Okay,
I don't know what system it is.
yeah.
I can find out for you.
Push a
but-
button, you talk, right?
That's what I know, and you just go to a certain channel.
That's where I'm at whenever they ask me. I'm like, I call Mike Gerard. Whenever I get a problem, just call Mike Gerard. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can follow up on that. Okay. Sergeant Miles?
I think that really, in terms of the first responders, is our job is gonna be to get a handle on the immediate situation and start getting the ball rolling on getting resources that we need in, getting administrators in to take on that incident command role, and to really get resources in place and get the communication going between the various parties that are involved.
With law enforcement and traffic control, who do you feel would be responding, like from Granville or Westfield, or what would
We're
you
gonna
expect?
have a police response from not only Agawam, Westfield, MSP, but DPW is gonna be big, because they're already here, they're gonna have trucks, and he already mentioned, he can park a truck across the road and
Yeah.
nobody getting around the truck. So it's just gonna be, it's gonna
Brilliant.
kind of be a team effort between those four law enforcement agencies and DPW to kind of contain the area and keep people out.
So College Highway, US 202 would be open for traffic north and south?
In all likelihood, yeah.
Okay. All right. Lieutenant?
I mean, I really don't have a lot to add after Paul here, but the one thing that I am thinking about is since our dispatch did move, we also have to plan with them as well. Because before we just go down the hallway and, hey, we need to get the rest of you guys in here to deal with all the phone calls. Now it's out of our hands, which you experienced a couple weeks ago, right, with the storm we had come through?
Yes.
Where they got inundated with their calls, our calls, other calls. I mean, this at least would be isolated to Southwick, so it would be more controllable, I think. but still an issue we're gonna have to address.
Carl, representing the select board and,
Charles, thank you for coming. For Fire Chief Stefanovich.
well, I didn't want to miss it, you know.
I mean, obviously, you know, we're gonna be involved in the limited emergency declaration. We're gonna be looking at what we need to do to support the other departments, police, fire, public works. We have the benefit of also having our EOC here to work out of, as well as if we want to send a person down to the grist mill at the other command post. So we're gonna be working with the incident commander on the basic message to make sure that people aren't sending out messages that are inconsistent. So you wanna make sure what you're doing, so you really gotta coordinate that and speak to people before you send it out. And then there'll be, you know, another element where we're probably tracking the costs for reimbursement from the insurance company for the company that oversees the tanker, because, you know, the police and fire and other costs, you know, they have the ability to bill people for emergencies and spills that have happened in the community. We have a mechanism to recover some of those costs, because it wasn't like something that they did, you know, so there's that issue. And then obviously, you know, working with our building inspector, Board of Health, Department of Public Health regarding issues on air quality, because if you're gonna wanna make sure the schools are okay to,
Yep.
when you can send students back to them, even if the fire didn't touch it, you still gotta go and check it out, you gotta see if anything went into their HVAC system, you know, that, you had that other learning lesson with the water and the heating system. So you gotta go and check that, and then maybe check out the neighborhoods. Is there an issue that we need to have the air quality looked at within a certain radius? And I know DEP's got the connections as well as you do to make sure if that needed to be done. And then, you know, while they're putting out this fire, or they're using whatever they're doing to suppress it, you know, is there anything that's going into a body of water? You know, cause normally we would have a conservation commission person like Dennis used to, would speak to that issue, and of course, anything going into a body of water, then that also trips back the other part of DEP. So there'd be a lot of things like that going on, and then, you know, then whatever else is being, presenting itself to the group as we go through this process. So,
Representing fire department, I would be very much wary of a levy, boiling liquid and explosion. So my big concern would be to protect the environment nearby, any houses, any structures, and keep people away from out of danger. And it's a little bit out of my expertise with a incident of this magnitude. And I wish, you know, we'd had representation.
well, you got a couple of houses near there, right? got a couple
You have
of single-family
Right across the
houses on the
street.
other side of the
And
road.
you do have the school close at hand.
Library.
And
Yep, the
you
libraries,
have
along with
vehicles parked there. If one vehicle
lot of-
catches fire,
Yep.
it would extend to the adjacent.
Well, yeah, 9:30 in the morning, school's in session,
Right, there's
right?
cars
Right, this
there.
is school day, school's in session. You know,
Okay.
a couple of vehicles start blowing up, they can all start, more of them can go.
Emergency management, well, we had a good test here with the last snowstorm. And I would consider that we would be very active, either monitoring or doing assistant dispatch from downstairs here at the EOC. And a lot of documentation, working with MEMA, Emergency Management, and that would be a significant coordination. At this time, I would like to, outside observers, if you have any input, Ian, any of your thoughts as to open season on anything you want to talk about?
It's dangerous, say that.
I thought we had a good conversation, everyone contributed, there's good lines of communication between the hospitals, police, fire and, I guess if you call traffic fire, but I think that's all I got to say, well done.
Okay, Pauline?
I agree, I concur with
with Ian. All did very well. Contribute, which is great.
Chuck, Charles,
All right. I thought it went pretty well. One of the questions that I had, it was read that when you had a fully engulfed tanker, that you would evacuate for a half a mile. Does anybody have a clue of what distance that is, how big of a circumference of the town that that's going to cover? It's going to go from just about Grist Mill, Grist Mill's just past the half-mile mark. It goes all the way back to Shaggy Bark, so you'd have to block off 57 at the Grist Mill and all the way to Shaggy Bark. And the other part coming down, Powder Mill, Wally Park entrance is the half-mile mark, roughly. So all your houses off to the south, east quadrant would have to be evacuated in that community. So how are we going to get all of the people, and are there any housebound people? How is that going to be handled in a timely method there to get everyone? I know you're going to send out a message, which is great for people who can move on their own, but if you have a housebound person who can't get out, how are we going to know about it and be able to respond to that? Who's going to?
That's a great point. Do I remember from a previous tabletop, you have a list of housebound people?
Yeah, the Council on Aging has a database
That's what I
where
thought.
everybody is, and they also know about, well, for the most part, it's accurate, not everybody self-reports or
That's a great point.
or
yeah.
gets themselves into our system, but it would be a good resource to know
Be a
who's
great
within a certain
resource.
distance, are they on oxygen? Yeah, there's those types of things, you know, but
Now,
we're
what is
fortunate to have that.
what is the
information.
thought of the duration of this? No, I'm not talking about cleanup, but I'm talking about fires out and on the de-escalation of the incident. How long do you think that a tank explosion or fire like this would last?
Probably a solid 4 hours at a minimum, I think.
I think explosion would be pretty quick. So,
It would be, where we can start de-escalating and sending mutual aid, back.
I'm Scott, I would imagine if the hazmat team that's located out of Chicopee comes and they get involved, they know how
We gotta.
they know the length of,
There's a whole plan.
they've been to enough of these where
Yeah, I
they
don't-
know, this-
I
if
don't
you
wanna
get this,
step on his toe, but yeah, we have
if you
a
get
whole-
this many gallons, this is usually
So-
about how long it lasts.
Basically what happened is, their hazmat commander would call in, and the biggest thing that we worry about with fires that I always hate when I hear gasoline, it's not the explosion, it's not the gas, it's basically what you hit on with the environmental problem with the sulfide. So when we have hydrogen sulfide, it's, that's one of the main components, you're always gonna have that's going off in the air. That's gonna be the thing we're looking at now is air qualities, and if it got into your ducts without them being recleaned, and we put those air conditioning systems back on or whatever, we could have a problem.
Yeah.
Those are what the concerns, but for the main part of opening everything else up, I think would be pretty quickly, depending on what hazmat said. But we would probably have everything, traffic, people wouldn't even know what's going on, but we would be probably taking that circumference and minimizing that to where we would have that blocked off, and we'd be looking at those concerns, and then that would be looked at by a specialist that would come in. Matt Gray would come in and Matt would just tell me, hey, look, we had 8-mile-an-hour wind, the guy's too smart for me to talk to, so I just say, just tell me what you want, 8-mile-an-hour winds per particle, per this, per that.
Is he DPH?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, but that's all he does, is he worries about the environmental concerns. So you're right, there's a system in place.
Right,
that would
you're
sort of
coordinating all those
environment,
state
right.
assets are coming, and they're gonna partner with the local.
And then we would have a discussion with the police chief, the fire chief, and then they would all say, hey, yeah, that's feasible for us to do that, it's not feasible for that. Then if the school's involved, we have what's feasible, what's not feasible.
Yeah.
Generally, if it was what we did in one of the other instances, because it was next to a school, we had stuff go into their filtration, we decided to go on a remote school day for 2 days to make sure that the air quality inside the school is good. but everything else was back to normal, other than the two places where we had a school and a business. And once we did an air quality control test, it was back to normal, nothing but.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, you know, in the world we're living in now, people are probably still, it's in their mind how they saw how things were handled in Ohio.
Right.
So you don't want it to get to the point where they feel like they haven't been listened to or those things haven't been checked.
Yeah, we're gonna double check that, because we still got phone calls from people worried about air quality in, what are you guys gonna do about this in Massachusetts? Like, well, we ain't doing nothing about it, because it's impossible for that to, if there was anything, it would have been here by now, but it wasn't going to even affect us.
Oh, you mean like the clouds bringing it up
Yeah,
to us?
people, we
Okay.
had phone calls for 3 days straight.
But what the airflow,
Yeah, people were worried about going outside, we had people that, well, I read on Facebook, I'm like,
I love
We're all
when those
gonna-
conversations start that way.
should I get tested for cancer? It was crazy.
Okay, now this is going to be towards DPW and Randy. This is a state highway maintained by Southwick, correct?
Yes.
We have melted asphalt, and what would be the condition of restoring the highway afterwards? How long do you think, with a big burn hole?
We could fill it in temporarily with whatever we have, hot mix or, whatever we have on site, we can fill it in, and then we'll just cut out the days afterwards, we can cut out that section of asphalt and pour a new section of asphalt.
Okay,
That's, you know, maybe a week-long process to get it back to restored where it was prior to the incident.
okay. Does anybody else have any comments or anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just wanted to go through a quick list here, Charlie, just for, I'll start with police. How many full-time people do you have on during the day?
2, if you count the school resource officer, 3, and then if you count the administrative people, another 3 or 4.
And you have a dedicated school resource officer still, right? Okay. And then part-time guys are just on as you need them or filling in
Have
shifts.
road job guys, so we could pull them.
And then fire department, do you guys know how many, does anybody know how many full-time, guys are actually on duty during the day?
I think 2, and then the
the chief and the deputy, so you got like 4.
And then call people after that.
Oh, yeah, well, you'd be also calling in their emergency cascade list, just like this, would be calling in the other career full-timers, they'd be coming in, and then the reserves and the per diems, so.
Charlie, where's your alternate EOC?
DPW,
661 College Highway at the D.
Do you have, this goes to superintendent and emergency man, do you have a reunification plan for students or for anything?
We do.
Okay.
We are currently working with the police and fire, and we're going to be doing another reunification drill soon, like
Awesome.
after we do our lockdown drills, like next year.
it has
Next
been
year.
pre-planned, sometimes using the rec center.
Now, the buses stored, there, even though they're under the collaborative, are they at Woodland anymore?
They are to the end of the school year. And then I think they're going to be going to their Agawam site.
Okay, so that's no longer gonna be an asset that we have for moving people.
I'm gonna share with you a tool really quick as I go down the list, so I just try to fill you in as I go, so we don't have to go back and forth. So we started this thing, it's called 360, it's with Homeland Defense. I'm doing West Springfield right now as the first school, actually I gotta start it next week, or we do the rest of the schools, I think, next week. So what we're doing is we're taking a picture of, we go into your school, we're there when the buses drop off, when they pick up, we're there the whole day, and all we're doing is taking pictures of every entrance, every exit, every possible area of the school. We take those pictures then, and we take a 360 view of all those areas. Then what we're trying to do is, we'll see if we can, if you have cameras available in the areas there, we'll put an icon with those areas. What'll happen is, at the end product, after we get all those pictures, we'll take those pictures, put them into a map. We put that into a feed, that is a live feed, so that, let's say you had an active shooter, just God forbid. As the police roll up, they could click on the link or have it downloaded in their apps, their cruisers, whatever, and take a look at what they're getting into. If we already have cameras, I'm trying to get money, I hate to say this when I say money, because then people expect it. We're trying to get money so that when you click on the app, you'll see a picture of the entrance. They click on it, they'll see the 360 view of that scenario, of that view. But if there's a camera there, we can then switch it over and they'll click on the camera, it'll give them a live feed in real time of what's happening at that moment. So those first responders, as they go, will have access to this. Then we can do the entire, all your schools, infrastructures, police departments, buildings, and it's free of cost. So it doesn't cost you guys anything. The only thing that you'd have to pay for is if you have cameras. Sometimes we'll suggest you move the cameras, get more cameras, but the entire program is free, so it doesn't cost you anything. All you gotta do is let me know, hey, we wanna do this. What I'm gonna do is, I sort of set up West Springfield, we're also gonna help you do plans. So let's say you say, hey, you know, this is great, but we still need help on our reunification plan. We'll get the team together, we'll help you write your reunification plan, in accordance with all that. Making sure that you got all those things like the WIA, we'll make sure you have the WIA written in there, whatever else you need written in there for the state resources and your resources. The nice thing is all free of charge, it's not gonna cost you anything.
Really?
I got the idea when we did the Big E, and we did the Big E, and we got an extensive plan for the Big E and the Boston Marathon. So I was like, why aren't we doing this for schools or the infrastructures? I got a hold of Homeland Security, and they said, yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna do, we're in the process of doing West Springfield schools now. Once I get that prototype done, I'm gonna use that as the prototype to show that, say, hey, look, if you're interested, and I'm not forcing it down your throat, because a lot of people, the state's telling us we're gonna do, I'm not telling you you gotta do anything. If you want it, it's free, we'll do it. If you don't, we're okay with that too. It's just another tool for the police, fire, and you. And we'll help you with the reunification plan with that as well. Just putting that out there.
That's actually really great, so we're gonna invite you to our next safety meeting when we talk about reunification.
Yeah, no problem, I'm always available.
Okay.
Hydrogen sulfide, I think you guys hit really good on that. That was some of the big things that people miss. We talked about gas, I think you guys hit on that. I think as a community, you guys always do well, and I think you continue to do well. Just because if something isn't writing, I think the good thing about Southwick, generally you guys, common sense prevails, usually. I was in Boston last week, we had the storms, and I wanted to strangle somebody because they were saying, well, we don't need a declaration, we don't do anything. The guy looks out the window, it's raining in Boston. And they said, well, we're all set, why are we standing up an EOC in the state? And I sat back from it, I said, why wouldn't we? Well, it's only freaking rain out there. I said, have you been to Western Massachusetts? I said, I just got off the phone with Granville and Blanford, there's 33 inches. Chester has no power, and I got 3 roads nobody can get to. And we went out with about 20 different towns. I said, oh, I always forget about Western Mass.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I wanted to strangle somebody. But typically, unfortunately, that's still, even though we joke about it, it really is reality. They sort of forget about Western Mass.
We know.
Okay, if we're finished?
Charlie, I got one more question.
Sure.
You said you would do a limited,
Limited declaration of,
what is a limited declaration?
in other words, it's an area or section of the town. The whole town is not implicated. Might be a little bit in traffic.
But when you file a declaration, what is that gonna do for you? A limited declaration, what is that gonna do for you?
Documentation and possibly
Reimbursement.
refunding expenses.
Why wouldn't you just go to state and declaration?
We could.
I'm just gonna tell you.
I think he was just thinking, like a snowstorm, which
There's
is the
no
whole
real
town.
limited, I'm just saying, when we use those, there's no real juice to the limited. You just file a declaration. If you're gonna, just call it what it is, and just file a declaration. And we just went through that with a lot of towns. It doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
We can file one tomorrow for something stupid, it doesn't hurt anything, just file a declaration, it gives you that flexibility in your budgets. The big problem we have is the Berkshire Eagle just released an article that said that once you file a declaration, we're giving you all MEMA's gonna give you all your money back. So our phones are inundated right now, like, alright, if you're a select board member or you've been around, you're gonna know that we ain't giving you anything back. We're gonna try to get you money back, but we don't have the money to give it to you. But just, it doesn't hurt.
Right, because if you don't have one
Right.
declared, you definitely can't try to
Yeah.
pursue anything. And it's just about cost recovery. But that's gonna be a separate issue than what we're gonna be following up with the insurers of the people, you know,
Right.
through, we have special revolving accounts for, you know, responses where police and fire can recover money for certain things.
One of the couple last check marks is your PIO. Do you guys have a town PIO?
Yes.
And are they trained?
Yeah, I act as that function
Okay.
with the incident commander,
What's PIO?
public information
Public
officer.
information officer. Did you go through training or did you just?
No, they, you know, I've seen them once in a while, but I was, I had something else I had to do that was more.
No, I get it, I totally get it.
Well,
Would it be beneficial, the only reason I'm asking this, because we're gonna bring training to Western Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have a whole list of things.
Absolutely, that would be a great topic if you wanna
So I'm
add that.
going to offer some of those courses, and PIO seems like the one we're missing in Western Mass, like nobody wants to travel, and I don't blame them, I don't want to either. So we're gonna bring those PIO courses to, I think, the region, and.
The
at
Agawam
the last-
location,
Yeah, but I'm going.
or are you gonna do it online?
No, we're gonna do it, I think, if, I don't wanna misspeak without the fire
You
chief.
can come here and use here
That's
as a,
what we planned on
We-
doing, so
we-
I was at the last fire chief's meeting.
we host
and
stuff.
Your, fire chief graciously offered us his training area,
Wow.
Good.
so we'll be doing some NEMTech classes out of that.
Oh, we're fortunate to have the facilities where we volunteer a lot of things. I mean, we've had Coast Guard boating lessons here for the lakes and, you know, we have other trainings that happen here. So we do have the ability to do that and we invite our neighbors in from other communities.
So that's what we'll be doing. AFNs, you'd hit on this, and I was gonna hit on it later, is your AFNs are your affected needs people. So that if we had to evacuate an area, I think you guys do a good job, because I know we checked before, any of the disabled people that we needed to evacuate, that you would have that list, so that when I sent that we out, even if they couldn't evacuate, I believe it'd be your council on aging that would hold that list.
we do have a council on aging van.
Yeah, and she's on this committee, so she, you know,
No,
she
they're all
wasn't.
pretty, I gotta admit,
she's-
all our council on aging
Yeah.
and health departments, this is one thing they take serious. And that's usually our first contact when we're doing evacuations. And even if the power had to go, who has oxygen, who needs oxygen, who needs to be evacuated, how do we do that? So even if we had to activate an ambulance task force, and that's one of those things that, Charlie, just so your own knowledge, if that ever came like, you had to evacuate this big area, and you said, oh my God, council on aging, we got a van of 12, we got a couple school buses. If it gets beyond your scope, just call me, we'll just get an ambulance task force. I'll just say, hey, I need an ambulance task force, and we'll just.
What does that mean? They can send you 20 ambulances and,
An ambulance task force generally is gonna be 5 ambulances and 2 paramedics. But I can call as many as we need. So if you ran into a jam, and then I can get the PVTA. So we have, and that's no cost to you. So once I call them in, it's whatever, we'll take
I
care
mean,
of the cost.
did they do that last week when they were evacuating that nursing home down the Cape or the South
Yeah,
Shore?
no, we called, 20,
Oh.
task forces for that.
Wow, I mean, cause I saw it, I'm thinking, I saw multiple.
So we
community
got
fire
the
departments.
call at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:10, I think is.
And that was carbon monoxide,
Yeah,
right? That's what
carbon
that was.
monoxide, it was, you know, hazmat told me, hey, there's no way we're gonna quit, we need to evacuate now. We had that in complete, 160 people evacuated and replaced within 3.5 hours.
Wow.
So, and even that's long though, when you consider what we had to go through, open up ventilation, we had oxygen, but I was still a little nervous, it sounds nice, 3.5 hours you did that, but it was like, we should have done better. But the problem we had is, the nursing home, we had to place them. So I went to hospitals all the way to Rhode Island. A lot of these people were special care. I needed ICU rooms, so we really, it was a pretty good feat, but we still need to do better. But yeah, to answer your case, that's what we used. I think we called in 20 ambulance task force for that. AFNs look good. Declaration we talked. T. Reunification we talked about. Charlie, that's all I got.
Okay, well, thank you all, and the exercise is terminated at 10:47, and I'll turn the meeting over to Rhett. Thank you. Thank everybody for your participation.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, back into the agenda items. Any other new business for anybody?
I have one item. Last meeting, we talked about updating our hazard mitigation plan. Myself, Brett, and Fire Chief are, I guess, on the interim committee. we need to have a public hearing, to discuss the plan updates with the public. So I'm hoping we can set aside a date and time where it kind of works for most of us. I think we should all be at this, plan meeting, update.
Is that a daytime LEPC agenda item, or does that have to go in front of the governing board on a nighttime
It
meeting?
would be, I think, a nighttime meeting. I don't think. it would
As
be-
an agenda
I don't think it would
appointment?
be a select board item,
Not
unless if you
LEPC.
wanna set aside a 35-minute.
Or just invite them separately, okay?
So I was thinking just a separate day of the week, you know, say a Wednesday where it's pretty quiet in town hall, we can have a meeting.
The subcommittee can do that, right?
Did you get a grant to pay for that?
We did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did.
Because that grant's still open, if you need more money, we're just extending that grant again
Okay.
for hazard mitigation, but if you already got it, you're good.
Yeah, I don't know, you must have applied for that, Charlie, I'm not sure who spearheaded that, but the
Yeah,
grant.
I'm
for
not
the-
sure if he did that, or
Hazard
did
mitigation.
Chief Anderson do that before he
You
left?
Russ might have done it.
Russ has done these
Maybe he
before.
did it.
Maybe arrested.
But I just wanna make sure you're getting paid for it, you're not doing it out of your own pocket.
It is, there is a consultant working on it.
Okay.
I mean, as long as there's a commitment from, you know, I guess, I'd like to put a date so we can put it on our calendars. If that works for you guys.
You're thinking about doing that after the Maytown meeting, Randy?
I think they'd like to do it before then. Sometime in April, maybe mid to late April.
What do you think, Brett?
Like, how about the April 19th? It's a Wednesday.
I'm out of the country.
Or 26th. We're not all.
Well,
either, but-
yeah, he's not, the whole committee doesn't, this is something they have to do.
We just want
A
some-
subcommittee could hold the hearing and
I'll do
solicit
whatever
the
on that,
information.
That's great. Do the 19th. 19th works for me.
All right, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
the
pencil that
important
in
thing's
over
for
here
you to be
otherwise,
there,
and then just
Right.
please do your best
Yeah,
to.
I've got
Okay.
availability. What were you gonna do, Randy?
The 19th.
I will notify our consultant that that's the planned date.
Okay.
And then I will also do some outreach to some other stakeholders. They've asked us to reach out to some of the local churches and other groups.
Faith-based organizations.
Our community, neighboring communities, let them know, so I'll do that outreach to those.
We have an Eversource Teams meeting. I think, well,
That
that's,
night?
that's in the morning though.
He's
I'm
talking
thinking
about
the
evening.
Like a 6 o'clock.
Yeah, there's no
meeting.
conflict. What's the vendor you're using?
Kaplan Consulting.
Okay.
All right, thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else, any new business? Okay, seeing none, old business. Anyone with any old business? Seeing none, we'll move on for an adjournment. Before we do, our next meeting is going to be May 25th, 2023 at 9:30 in this very room. If you can't make it, just please give us a heads up. And with that, if no one else has anything, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion?
Second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Do we need a roll call vote on that?
Yes. Okay, first one would be Dunlap,
Yes.
Banish,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Steinhardt is yes. Willard,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
let's see, Miles, Lewis?
Yes.
I'll throw in Miles, yes, okay. All right, there's your roll call, so this motion made, seconded, and
Okay, meeting
Well done.
adjourned.
the time
Joe go downstairs now and
is-
get sworn in?
adjourned
10:51.
at 10:51.
Facebook and everything?